thank you for joining us. It's a nice initiative by Pune Roadrunners. What we are doing basically today evening, we all know about these ladies. We all know most of their achievements. And we all appreciate and look up to them. Today, the objective of this gathering was basically know a little about their personal lives as women for women. So we understand the challenges we go through to get out of home in the morning for that 1 hour of run or swim or bike, sometimes longer when they travel out of town. So today what we are doing is letting them tell us their stories, their personal struggles, if any, and of course their highlights. I want them to again remind us of their highlights, though we all know so much about them. We'll start with Smita. So Smita, as you can see, aging gracefully, not aging actually. She runs a Pilates studio, she's a super runner. Most of the city half marathon, she's a podium winner. So I'm going to pass on the mic to Smita. What we want to hear from you, Smita, is how you got into running. We know a little about it. But for women who are on the borderline, who think, I've never run all my life, how are these women running on the roads? I can never be one of them. Or a triathlete, or a duet. So how? So anything that you say today that convinces even one woman to say, no, I think I can take it up. And I think I can remove that 1 hour in the morning for this sport. I think it's good for me. That's the purpose of this program. So we want your personal stories. Even if it's a funny thing about doing something in the morning to get out for that 1 hour, that's what we want to hear today. Smita?
Am I good with this? Okay. Well, I started running pretty late because running was not something that I really enjoyed doing. I am a Bombayite and I moved to Pune. The first thing when I moved to Pune I thought is, wow, now I'm going to get to do whatever I wanted, and my first love was at that time to take part in the Enduro. In Enduro, we had to do all three things: swimming, cycling, and running. So probably that was when the seed was sown. And Nikhil Shah, of course, kept on telling me, because he used to be with me in Enduro most of the times. And he said, start running, start running. He used to say, Nikhil, no, not running, because it's hard. Cycling was easy, swimming was easy, but not running. So anyway, I ventured into it in a pretty late age, actually. I remember I was 55 at that time when I started running. I'm 58 today, and it's 3 years. And the initial stages were hard, but now it's fun. But it's definitely challenging because it's not easy to wake up early morning and start that run, come back home by 7 o'clock, because that's after that you have everyone on the road. And in Pune, as you know, nobody respects you, they don't stop. And you have to stop. So that was about my running, and every time I run a half marathon, I say, I'm not going to do that again, but I still go back to it. And in fact, sitting between all these 4 ladies who have done much more than me, I'm just maximum I must have run is 23. They have done 80, 50, 42, and she's a triathlete. So I'm really honored to be here. So the highlights are, I think I'm still looking for some. Maybe the first time I was surprised when I did my SEMM and I won the first prize and just made it for sub 2. And I remember sitting by the side and waiting for my SMS because I hadn't had a Garmin. And I said, if I don't get an sub 2 here, I've got to come back again for a sub 2. And that was not something I was very happy about, but I still am going back in spite of the sub 2 to do it better and better. And so that was the addiction, that the prize at an event running it second time. I remember doing it for the first time in 2 hours, 4 minutes. So cutting down 5 minutes in a year was the high achievement over there, and I'm still trying, getting older, but still greedier and greedier to do it better. So it's your body. I think the more you ask it to do, the better it will always give it back. So I think you should, for those especially in the audience today who are saying that I haven't run, it's a good time to start. You'll be surprised what your body will deliver.
Smita, anything you want to mention about Pilates, and has it helped you in your runs?
Yes. I'm a fitness professional. I did my sports medicine, and I also I have done a health club management program abroad. So I was working in a leading chain of health clubs. When I when I left it, I took to Pilates because I felt that was the best form of exercise with the least amount of injuries, and anyone and everyone at whatever age could do it. Also, it is a complete exercise because it attacks the core directly, which is most important before you start any exercise. Doing a core exercise the right way is directly connected to having the right posture. And if you have a right posture in every physical activity that you do, you just cut out your injuries. You move from a health benefit to a fitness benefit to a performance level straight away. So I feel, and even today, that for those especially who don't like to do weight training, strength training, which is a very essential part, especially for ladies as we grow older, Pilates is one of the best ways because you carry your body all the time, and that weighs, right? It weighs a lot. So,
thank you. I'm going to shift the mic to Saloni. She's the youngest member on the panel today. She's also an Ironman. For most of us who don't know what an Ironman is and how commendable her feat is, she's going to tell us what an Ironman is.
Thanks. So an Ironman is a triathlon which comprises of a swim, a biking leg, followed by a run. It's done in that order, and the distances for an Ironman is you do a 3.8 kilometer swim in the sea, then you cycle for 180 kilometers, and then you run a full marathon. That's 42.2.
At a stretch.
At a stretch, yeah.
So we know what an Ironman is. Milind Soman is not the only Ironman. Now Saloni is going to, since we want to know how she mixes those long work hours with the rigorous training schedules of an Ironman, since Saloni's into endurance sports, please tell us.
All right. Firstly, I have to say this, that I've been blessed because I've had the right people in my life to do this. First and foremost, it's Dr. Costa Bradkar, who's right here. I mean, if you think what I've done is cool, he's done it 15 times over. So, I mean, so when I decided back in 2014 that I wanted to do an Ironman, I happened to do a triathlon, an Olympic distance, and I happened to win it. I was third, and Costa was the one who gave me the prize. So I think it was destiny. So soon when I decided I wanted to do an Ironman, I reached out to him. He was kind enough to take me under his wings, and so the entire schedule and training for an Ironman, it's demanding, definitely, because I'm a working professional. I have a full-time job. So Monday to Friday, I am in office for 9 hours working. But my days would start at 5 in the morning, and I would, at least the lead up to the full Ironman was, I would put in almost 3 hours of work, of training before office. Then I would go to office, I would work, and over the weekends, that is Saturday and Sunday, were when the longer workouts were there. So it would be anything between 5 to 6 hours on each day, on Saturday and Sunday. So I used to clock roughly around 12 to 16 hours of training in a week. Yeah, and I used to get a Monday off. I have never looked forward to a Monday more in my life. It's changed the whole Monday blues. You know how we have the Monday blues, don't want to go to office? I used to wait for Monday because that's one day I could sleep in a little extra, and I still had work, but I was not dying before work, so yeah.
Another thing, since you've told us about your training, what we are interested in, how did you get into thinking of being an endurance athlete? Were you always an athlete during school and college days? Any background? How did you get into?
So through school, yes, I was into athletics. I've done a bit of track. I've played badminton. I represented my school in the district, but that was way back in school. Through college and post-graduation and the initial years of work, I obviously lost touch of that. How I got into this was actually back in 2013 when I realized that I was just too unfit. It was just a very unfit feeling, and it did actually happen that one fine morning I woke up and I'm like, enough of cribbing about how I don't fit into my old clothes. It's about time I did something about it. So I come from a defense background. My dad's in the army. He's retired now, but he would wake up at 5 in the morning very religiously for his walks. I started accompanying him on his walks because I had a two-wheeler accident in college, and I had my knee operated upon. So the doctors was like, yeah, you can't really run. And I really want to meet that doctor now, So so it started with that, and actually it's pretty similar to Smith, actually. That's also where I met her for the first time. It was at Enduro. So when I did Enduro, I felt invincible. I was like, ab to main kuch bhi kar sakti hu, because when you're racing for almost 27 hours and you still finish and you come out of it. And I knew I was hooked to endurance sports back then, but triathlons never really featured anywhere. And it's a funny story because when I started running and doing races, a friend of mine called me up and he's like, hey, you know what? I have this friend and he's doing this race called the Ironman. And guys, this is like in end of 2013. I had no idea what it was. So while talking to him, I looked it up online and I'm like, this is nuts. Who does this? It's like, I'm not that crazy. It were my exact words to him back then, and I swear he still pulls my leg about it till date. So, but I did my first triathlon in Pune itself, and it was a love at first sight, if I may use that term right here, but it was. I did my first triathlon, I'm like, I love this sport. And then it's just only human to challenge yourself to, how you can do better and keep challenging yourself. So yeah, that's how it started.
Great. We'll talk to Neelam now. Dr. Neelam Vaid is the founder, and she heads the Cochlear Implant Center at KEM Hospital. She's a very reputed ENT surgeon, and she's a sportsman. Fantastic. So let's hear it from her.
Thanks, Zareen, for that eloquent introduction, even the one that you put out on Facebook. It's got me quite a few of embarrassing situations, including the word queen. It's being really, really ribbed in now. Also, big thanks to the organizers for organizing this. If nothing else, it's a great opportunity to interact with all of us on a personal level and get to know how we all are moving on in life. A special thanks to Kavita, who even with a broken arm has been making sure that we given all our snaps and whatever she wanted. Thank you. So coming to what Zareen was really asking us to talk about struggles, for me really it's not been a struggle, and I think partly it goes down to the fact that Instead, 4 of us are defense personnel kids here, Zareen, Taru, Saloni, and myself. And I think the credit really goes to that. As defense personnel kids, we really do see our fathers especially, not mummy. Mummy is a typical Punjabi woman, including the backside. We all have seen our fathers getting up early in the morning, going out. So exercise has been a part of our lives. For me personally, started in school. Papa introduced me to running. Athletics was a very important part in school. Badminton became very important in college. I think after the 12th standard, unfortunately, I made the mistake of doing medicine. So that's where things could go back foot. So in my first 5 years of medicine, really got no time to do anything in terms of sports. But the good thing that happened was when I became a resident in ENT, I was surrounded by boys. I was the only girl, and believe me, I took full-scale advantage of it. So I would ring up my senior, and this is not done in medicine. You don't tell your senior that you're stepping out of the campus and ask him to take calls. And I'd say, please, I need to go for this aerobics class, and can you just take calls between 6 to 7? Of course, the reason that I also was going for that aerobics class, I don't know if many of you knew, there was a guy in Khan Road at the Pune Women's Council, a really good-looking Parsi guy. We all know him, the women know him. So believe me, big motivation. So 3 years of residency, 6 to 7 in the morning, I was there for that aerobics class. How much of aerobics I did was a matter of discussion. But at least that got me back into some sort of fitness. After that, marriage, and you started your career. I did get back to running pretty soon, and I always, running was a part of my life. I used to get up every morning and run, and it was never as much a struggle for me as for my in-laws and my husband. I married into, again, a very typically Punjabi family, whose idea of Sunday is we get up, we eat parathas, we sleep. Then we have rajma chawal, and we sleep. And at night, we have chicken curry and rice. So this is life. And there comes this girl who believes that every morning she has to exercise. And if she doesn't exercise, then she snaps. And she is so snappy that my in-laws actually started saying, "Beta, tum jaake apna daud karke wapis aao." So luckily got a lot of support there and continued running. But when we come to really what I'm here on the stage for, I think that just happened overnight. April 2013, and I remember that very well. I was sitting and just thought in 2 years I'm going to be 50. And what would I like to do to celebrate that? And I said, I'm going to give myself the target to run a half marathon. And my first LSOM was May 2013, and that's where I first saw Zareen running. Believe me, she was there, and I was like trying to catch up with this girl. And I ran.
I'm still there. You're far ahead.
And I ran a 15K, that was May. June 2013 did my first 21. And then I decided in all this enthusiasm that I'm going to run the city's toughest marathon, that's Hyderabad. And I enrolled for it. Just to share with you how novice we are and when we don't interact with runners, I went for Hyderabad thinking it's like an LSOM, which means you get your bib in the morning. So Neelam Vaid books in her ticket, arrives at Hyderabad by a late night flight that lands at 11:30, husband in tow. Husband's like all coming there to encourage me. And we go for the Hyderabad marathon in the morning and I'm seeing everyone's wearing a bib. Where's my bib? And that's when I realized that, oh, you had to come the day before and pick up your bib. So my first half marathon, I ran with that receipt. I remember asking the organizers, can I run? And they said yes. And I was like, what if nobody gives me water? And he said, ma'am, believe me, people will give you water on the road. So that was great. That was my first, I think, high. Also a bit of a learning experience that if I want to get into this, I need to start relating and interacting more with the runner community because there's a lot that I don't know. And then slowly got into Pune running. And then it's been gradually going up from there on. Getting up in the morning, like I said, yes, and all of us would agree, it's not easy. when that alarm licks at 4 a.m., and that's, I think, for everyone here, you want to just shut it off and say, look, I need to sleep. So I think the motivation is that moving from the bed to the toilet. Once you're in the toilet, things happen. But, you know, that's difficult. Help now recently because I have a dog. So the minute that alarm rings, you have that, you know, nose here saying, get up, move, move. So it's still tough. It's still tough. It's not easy. So when you get up, and especially 4 a.m. for women runners, at least in the side of town that I stay, it's a little unsafe. So it's good if you have someone who encourages you. And for all those who are planning to start out running, I think join a group. Get someone to run with you. It's a big motivation. When you don't want to get up in the morning, you have that WhatsApp coming in saying, look, I'm getting ready, so move it. Move you know what. And you'll kind of reach there finally. I think highlights, every day is a highlight for me. Running, gymming. I do a lot of gymming. I do a lot of strength training in the gym. But I think the one thing that really keeps me going more than running is my mountaineering. So like Saloni was saying, for me, climbing the mountains is something that gives me a much, much bigger high. It's a different feeling. You're very humbled when you're facing those mountains, and you just feel what a small thing you are in the face of nature. So running for me is more about pushing myself. Every day, every year, I give myself a goal, and I say, I'm going to try and push it and get there. But mountaineering for me is humbling. I come back from the mountains and I feel, you know, however Zareen may say I'm a great ENT surgeon, I come down feeling I'm nothing in the big scenario of the universe.
She did not mention her long work hours at KEM, so we're not going to touch it since she doesn't want to talk about that. But we can understand the challenge that each one of them face with those long, they all are working women, business women, working women, full-time work, entrepreneurs, and they've achieved so much. Taru, I don't want to say anything about Taru. If I start, then she won't get a chance.
Hi everyone, I'm really honored to be here, Zareen. Whatever you say, I'm an August company, I know, and I can see a lot of runners here and coaches here, and it's nice to be talking to all of you. I'm working with Cybit Software, and I have a full-time job, and all of you understand how it is with IT, with the calls that happen at random times. You plan to get up at 4:30 and you get a call, okay, now this is the Pacific time zone and you are going to have a call at 10:30 p.m. which is going to last for an hour and a half. You have to just go ahead with the call, that's all you do. And the next morning you just still have to get up at 4:30, go for your run. That's the determination you need. And as Neelam said, it's the first step that you have to take, off the bed and into the toilet. For me, one of the challenges I face is that I have a very delicate stomach. So wherever I go for a run, I first try to identify where the washrooms are. So even on Pune roads, I have identified every route where the public toilets are. And believe me, all you have to do is shut your eyes, shut your nose and go anywhere. That's all. And I have done it. That's the challenge we face as women. When we need to use the washrooms. So how I got into running, like all these women who have been, all these girls who have been running or doing some kind of activity in their school or college days, I wasn't that kind. I belong to, I'm an army officer's wife, not a daughter, so that probably makes a difference. I belong to a very typical middle class family. And my parents, they earned their living based on the education that they had. So for them, education was the main thing. So all I did in school was study, study, study. That's all I did. And I got into engineering. There again, it was study, study, study. Only girl, again, amongst a whole lot of boys there. The only activity that I could do there for 1 year, that was the second year in college, I think, was we have a boat club in COEP, College of Engineering, Pune. So I did a little bit of rowing in the second year. But there was no other activity that I had done. But when I got married to an army officer, life changed. He just said, I'm going to be out of the house I'm going to go for PT at 3 p.m. I'm going to come back at 7:30. You decide, do you want to pick up an activity or you want to sit at home? Obviously, I mean, the choice is obvious. I started playing badminton, I started doing swimming, all this at the age of 21. That's when I started doing these things. Then he got posted to different stations. I had my daughter, and I would do anything that I could lay my hands on. As in, I would go for long walks, do aerobics, yoga, Zumba of recent times. And then in 2013, I got tired of doing things indoors. I used to walk outside, but then I thought, let me go for a run. I just went for a run. The very first day I ran 10 kilometers. And then I said, wow, I mean, my aerobics, my badminton seems to have worked. Let me try doing a good 10K in the Pune International Marathon. So the very first run that I ran was the same one that Neelam spoke about, where I too saw Zareen. And that was a 15K that I did in May 2013. And then I joined this group called the Pune Marathoners Club. They used to run in race course, and Michael Francis was the coach, bless him. He's around somewhere, my first coach. And when I went there, he said, look, if you have come here, you have to tell me what is your target. I said, my target is to run 10 kilometers in Pune International Marathon in December. This was May, and I was already running 15. He said, no, you have to run either a half marathon or a full marathon, or you are not going to be a part of this club. So I was so scared. I was very scared. I said, okay, I want to run a half marathon. I didn't know how much a half marathon is, but it seemed like a little lesser than a full marathon. So I said half marathon. And then quietly I found out secretly from someone it turned out to be 21K, and he asked me to run it in August in Hyderabad. Of course, he trained me for it. I ran. I got a podium finish there. It was a good experience. I took, I think, 2 hours and 5 minutes. That was my very first half marathon that I ran. Subsequently, the other thing that I wanted to do then, it's like a kida, you know. I mean, once it gets into you, it's a very dreaded disease. It doesn't leave you. Once you get into running, it's an addiction. And then you look for more and more and more. Fortunately, I'm very scared of cold water, so I can never do a triathlon. I got into cycling as well. I've done a duathlon, and then I got this kida of doing an ultra marathon. So I tried to. Everybody looks for shortcuts. So I said, what is the shortest distance I have to run to become an ultra marathoner? So Coach Michael was the one who said, anything beyond a half marathon, anything beyond a full marathon is an ultra marathon. And then I got to know it's not that easy. It still has to be 8 kilometers more than that. So I have to do a 50K in order to become an ultra marathoner. I had am I talking too much? I do that.
We love listening to this. We want to hear.
Okay. Thanks, Zareen. You're always so kind. So I said, I'm going to do an ultra marathon, but unfortunately, considering my age and the injuries that I am prone to, I have a very long recovery period as well. I had to have a different kind of training. So you will not believe it, the maximum distance I ran before I went into the ultra marathon during training was 25K. I ran 25, I used to run the weekends both the days, Saturdays as well as Sunday. So I would do a 25K or a 24K or a 21K on a Saturday, and then do another 21K or 17K on a Sunday. And this I did for just 4 weeks. And then I went in and did my 50K. The cutoff was 6 hours and 30 minutes. That's a very rigid cutoff, and it's for the Pune Ultra Marathon and on a reasonably tough route, right, Zareen? They have trail, they have hill, they have ups and downs, they have road, and we have to...
Sorry. They had road? I don't remember road.
Okay, we have to do it again to find that out. And 6 hours, 30 minutes, three women, three of us, Zareen is one of them. We completed that within the cutoff time, and I was fortunate enough to finish it in 5 hours and 54 minutes. My coach ran the entire distance with me. So that's about the highlights. About running, I would like to mention one thing for the women who are getting into running. Running is not only about running, it's about a lot more things beyond running. So I think Smita touched upon it when she spoke about the core. So core training, strength training, strengthening your glutes and hips and other parts of the body as well. That's very important to be able to run well. Diet, nutrition, that is very important. Diet as in not in dieting, but eating the right kind of food, that is important. Sleep is also very important. Another thing that is very important that I found out after running my first full marathon in Mumbai is that you need to get your important things, vitals checked. For example, your B12, your hemoglobin, cholesterol, D3, calcium. I finished my 42K in Mumbai and I couldn't recover very well from it. And then Nikhil Latte is the person who told me. Nikhil Latte, I don't know, many of you won't know him. Some of you would know him. He's the OGC director. He asked me to get my B12 checked. And I found that my B12 was very much low, very below the level, normal level. My hemoglobin was below 9 at that point of time. And with all this, I had already finished my full marathon. So I'm not saying that you should go ahead with all those kind of things. What I'm trying to say is get these things checked before you go into running. They will come up as you run and you eat the correct kind of food and take all the required precautions. So I guess I've spoken enough. I'm tired now.
Thank you, Taru. So we come to Vinita. How many of us have heard about the Comrades run, the Comrades Ultra run? Any idea how many kilometers it is? So Vinita is a Comrades runner. Let's hear it from her.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Zareen. Thank you, Road Runners, for organizing this event. And I'm very fortunate to have been sharing this entire stage with such distinguished athletes. Okay, so Comrades. Comrades is an ultra marathon that happens in South Africa every year. It's a 89.9 or 89.7 kilometer marathon, depending on whether it's an up or a down run. And the first Comrades was in 1921, where 6 participants ran. And this year we had 20,000 participants, out of which 1,000 were international entries and 75 were from India. So I think this year we had the biggest contingent from India. So this is a marathon which is tough for many reasons. One is the distance. 2, the route is very, very hilly. It's like putting 3-4 Pasaranis and 3-4 Kambatkis together. It's a very tough route, and South African weather is not necessarily favorable. So that is also another point. Then the other thing is that it has 6 cutoffs, and all the 6 cutoffs you have to reach within time, and if you don't, you're asked to stop. Then so basically this is a toughest and oldest road race for which all crazy people sort of attempt. And this craziness started in 2013, that I thought of attempting this marathon. I trained for it, but unfortunately in 2014, I mean, you start a year ahead of time. In 2014, I didn't finish. I ran the 83 and reached the last cutoff point by 4 minutes late. So then I thought I'll run the next year, but then I got injured and did not attempt it the next year. Then this year I trained and changed my training drastically. And so here's what I want to really talk about today. The struggle was to endure all these 3 years that I couldn't finish Comrades and still train for it. I think that was a bigger endurance for me than the actual race. But what really happened was, what changed was the training environment. I trained at Balewadi under Suresh Kakad, who was an athletic coach there. And he trained many athletes, and I was also one of them, but I was probably the oldest. But I trained there for strength, agility, and speed. But those guys didn't really have an idea of endurance. And I was extremely fortunate to have met Kaustubh, Kishore, and Amod. They were super athletes, but were very kind for me. I mean, kind to sort of train with me. I trained with them and suddenly realized that I could actually hold my pace for 20K. And they were running slow, but it was like a very fast run for me. But I trained with them, interacted with them, we shared our training programs. So what I'm trying to say is that the training environment is very, very important. You need to speak to runners, need to check your notes, need to check your training programs, always share whatever you are sort of feeling after a tough run. So one is the training environment. The next one is the nutrition. As she said, nutrition is extremely important, and not just the diet, but when you have it, how much you have it, what is the proportion you need to have it in. So all that is also important. You can get injured only because you don't have good nutrition. And the third I'd like to talk about is the family support. I think I've been very fortunate to have very good family and friend support. My husband Ajay, who's not here today, he's traveling, but he would drive behind me for every long run, which I would start probably in the middle of the night. But driving at 8 kilometers per hour for 7 hours is not a joke. So I've been very, very fortunate that he used to be supportive of that. He would keep the nutrition ready, the water ready at the right temperature, because in summers it was very hot. And then I had Ashok Captain, a very dear friend of mine, who would be assisting me with the water. Whenever I would raise my hand, he would sort of give water and the gel or the nutrition. And basically Ajay was driving to sort of safeguard me with the traffic coming, and also provide the light, and Ashok would give me the nutrition. In fact, many runs Kishore and I did together, and both of them supported the both of us. So then of course the family support, as far as mothers, mother-in-laws, all the friends, and the friends used to be always supportive. They would plan the parties according to my running schedule. So I think that was a huge support. And I just want to say that not only because of the women, but it is also because of the men that I've been able to achieve Comrades and the success. Thank you.
So what we'll have now is like a question answer session, if we have any questions. But I'm in the audience. I have my first question for you all, whoever wants to answer. What's the most interesting thing you've heard from your children? We have children ranging from 28 years to 15, 16, -5. So what's the most interesting thing regarding your athletic background or your sports achievements that you've heard from your children?
I'll just say that. Yeah, my son also trains with me, and after the first Comrades attempt, he told me, "Mama, forget everything else, just live the race."
Aru?
My daughter, she's a sweetheart, but then if you see her, you'll understand she weighs, she's tall and kind of hefty, and her life, her idea of, she's a typical Punjabi, though she's a half Punjabi. Her idea of exercise is talking, which she gets from me, and the other thing is eating, which she again gets from me. So she doesn't do any exercise of any kind at all. The highlight for me was a few days ago, she forwards me this article about Saloni Patania completing her Ironman, and she tells me, she's an army officer's daughter. Do you know she's completed her Ironman? So that's the thing that, I mean, being that kind of a person, she's at least interested in reading about these things now.
Smita, any anecdote from your granddaughter?
I don't remember anything what my kids or my husband have said. They are not into exercising or any sports activity at all. But yes, from my daughter-in-laws, oh, every time, we are so proud of you, Mom. We are so proud. And I have a grandson now who will be 1 year soon. And she keeps on telling me, Mom, he has to become like you. He has to become. And so whenever I go anywhere and come back, he's at the balcony. She's with him at the balcony saying, oh yeah, Mom, there's Aji. Well done. So that's really, I mean, an achievement.
Anybody in the audience has a specific question for our panelists? I could pass on the mic to you.
Could you please elaborate on your nutrition, your diet and your daily, I'm just curious about what you guys eat. about nutrition.
Wants to know about your daily diet, I guess.
I think it's just normal. There's nothing specific that I think I would really be looking at. Pre-run, during the run, yes, we have certain things that you need to look at. But I think I take what Taru said very seriously, that if you're really needing to get into this, and most Indian women do have low B12 levels. It's a genetic thing with Indians. We are predominantly vegetarians, even though we may be non-vegetarian, we don't eat that much. So it's a good idea to get your vitamin B12. Also for women, vitamin D is very important. Most of us do have very, very weak bones. So you need to look at these things in terms of looking at eating a lot more salads, green leafy vegetables. Indian cooking actually removes nutrition from whatever we eat because we really overcook stuff. For vitamin D, most of us, at least those of us who are beyond the age of about 45 to 50, will need calcium supplements. So that's a good thing to take. But I think once you get into this, then you will meet, like we said, co-runners, and you kind of learn from them what is the things that they eat during and after a run. Before the run, most of us would either have a banana, some of us have a sandwich, and then during the run, depending on whether we are training with gels or whatever. But I think first thing, get your baseline parameters done, and if there really no, meet a nutritionist and then take off from there.
Okay, I'm talking on a lighter note. I'm a Taurian and I'm a foodie. So my diet, before I went into running, I used to eat 1 vada pav and 1 samosa surely every day, because being in this IT thing, going for 11 o'clock, I come from a teaching background where we used to get a samosa and chai at 11 o'clock. So that kind of persisted. And I would go for my tea at 11, and there in the cafeteria, smell of fresh hot samosas. And I had to eat that at least 5 days in a week. I would have 1 samosa and 1 vada pav. And all the coaches, all the seniors, all the doctors have been telling me that's bad all my life. But I have sacrificed all that only and only for running. So instead of all that, now I eat more of boiled eggs. I eat muesli, more of idli instead of vada when I have to eat all that. So a little bit of, we do the conventional carb loading. So initially when I got into running,
what is carb loading, Taru? What is carb loading?
Okay. When I got into running, I was told that you burn a lot of, I won't go into technical things, but you need a lot of energy to run that 21K and 42K. And that energy comes from a lot of things like carbohydrates, glycogen and all that. Again, that's not my stream. But then essentially you need to eat more carbohydrates, and you don't get it. This is all theory, what I remember. You don't get all of it by eating it just the previous night, but you have to eat from Thursday until Saturday. All more of carbohydrates. Now theories keep changing. Now of late I've heard is that you need to eat more of proteins, and it's not just carb loading that you have to do. So you essentially have to have a balanced diet. So I don't like rice, even though I'm a Punjabi, sorry. But I started eating rice, more of rice Thursday, Friday, Saturday, a little more of rice, progressively more and more of it. After the runs or after my strength training, I said Indian food contains, it's balanced food. So as long as you're not eating junk, you get everything. But now I've started eating more of boiled eggs. So I surely have 2 boiled eggs every day. I'm talking about this because for me, this is a major paradigm shift from samosas and vada pav to boiled eggs, sad ones.
Anything else specifically from the audience to our panelists? From the women here? Okay, a guy wants to ask something.
Okay, good evening everyone. It's really an honor for me to be in presence of the queens. My question is for Vinita ma'am. As you mentioned that for the first time when you tried Comrades and you went until 83 kilometers, that's like 2 full marathons almost, and then at the last cutoff point you couldn't make it. That's like really not just heartbreaking, I mean you're completely shattered. So how did you mentally prepare? Not just with practicing, but mentally how did you prepare to again go for another Comrades?
Comrades is a huge experience when you meet people there who finish 30, 40, 50 Comrades. And they've attempted far more. See, that gives you perspective, and then you learn to forgive yourself. And you come back, decide, start training. That's what it is.
Okay. One question again from me. What is the kind of support each one of you gets from home? Whether it is to get out in the morning when some chores have to be done in the morning by somebody else, or it's when you're traveling for your Comrades, Ironman, full marathons out of town. What is the kind of support each one of you gets, and how important is it to shine in any field? Home support.
I think I've been very fortunate, but I think as women, you need to hone your support system. You need your buys and your the entire support system that you actually rely on. You constantly nurture that. And my husband and son, in-laws, parents, everybody knew about it. So you keep having conversations with them and talk about your passion, talk about everything. Yes, I mean, they do get sick of it, but they still support you because of their love for you. But I think more or less it's how you put together everything.
Support is important. You can't achieve anything without the support of your family first. Your friends always give it to you, that's why you're there, right? But if there is no support from the family, you can't achieve anything. I mean, where performance is concerned, you can go around and doing anything for recreation, your fitness or anything. But the support, how is it? That is for you to define. My family doesn't say anything. That by itself is a support to me. Just silence. Nothing. When they see me back home, oh, you're back? What's for breakfast today? At least they say, why do you do it? Because if you're going, we are not getting breakfast on time. They don't say that. So that for me is a support. They are always smiling when I come back, though in pain all the time. And when I used to go for my cycling practices, I used to go up. We used to have those Sinhagad races and Lavasa races in those days. They have been stopped recently. So I used to go very early in the morning, alone. My kids have, followed me in the car, timed me, given me the light from behind because it's scary. It is really very scary to go out at that time for your practices. So it's more than the friends, the family support is very, very important. It's very difficult to achieve anything without it. You want to ask me something, Aarti?
No, I guess everyone will finish and then I'll ask my question.
Anyone else? Saloni, you want to say something about your parental support, home support? It doesn't have to be spouse all the time.
Oh, well, I don't have one, so yeah. So tough to answer that. But yeah, so like I said, I don't have a spouse or a child, but I do have my parents. I live with them, and I don't think I would have done anything that I'm doing today without the support. Be as little as waking me up in the morning. So my father, because I work till really late. I usually get back from office at 10:30, 11. My work timings are like that. So I'd be like, okay, and there are also times when I would not see my father for days, despite staying in the same house, because he would go to bed by 10:30. I would come back from office at 11. He would wake up at 5:30 and he would be off, or I get up at 4 and I'll go for a bike ride. But, so those days that I would meet him, I'm like, Bapuji, I call him Bapuji. So I'm like, Bapuji, can you please wake me up in the morning? So Bapuji will come. Once he wakes up, he'll wake me up. Then he'll go change, and then he'll again wake me up. Then he's like, okay, I'm going out of the house, now get up. And that's, when I would get out of bed. And Mama would be like, I think I would have collapsed at least 1,000 times had it not been Mama, because she'll make the right kind of food, and because I carry all my food to office, so I'll have imagine leaving at 6 in the morning and getting home at 11. So everything I would take from home. So I would have some 10 dabbas, and to be eaten every 2-3 hours, and a protein shake, and God knows what all I used to carry. I don't know how many eggs I ate. I think just yeah. So that support is phenomenal, and more than anything else, I want to share this with you all. I was nervous as hell before my Ironman, and Kaustubh was there, and he knows it. I was a nervous wreck. I was quite unpleasant. But I was so nervous that at the start of the race, when we were in the transition area, my bike was set up, I'd worn my wetsuit, and I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And suddenly, I couldn't walk. I was just so overwhelmed with the nervousness, and my phone decided to act up, and I have never prayed to God for my phone to work. Okay, so I'm in Sweden, and I'm trying to call up my mother. I managed to get through to her, and that feeling of your gut being clenched so hard that you can't talk, it was that into 10. And I remember talking to my mom, and I remember getting a little lump in my throat. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to make a fool out of myself by crying in front of some 3,000 athletes from around the world. So, of course, I put up a brave front, and I spoke to Mom. But, that support that they give you, my mom keeps joking about it. She's like, at 30, I thought I'll be worried about you getting married. I didn't think I'll be worried about you going on a cycle, taking a fall, breaking bones, which I have in fact done already. So, that kind of support that they have. I know she's petrified when I go out, especially biking. It's terrible. It's quite nightmarish. People think cycle par hai, pair niche rakh ke, they'll just stop. They don't realize we have cleats. It's not that easy to just put your foot down, We fall, and we fall hard. So yeah, I think that support that my family gives, and my sister who's in Singapore, who flew all the way to Sweden just to see me at the finish line. I think that's the support that I get, and I feel so blessed about it.
Neelam, Taru, just one second. Neelam, anything from your husband?
Yeah, so I think I agree with what everyone's saying. You need a lot of support at home. No things, but the most important thing what Smita said is silence. I think a lot of it is that and it's up to us as individuals to make the family understand what this means to us. A lot of women I feel here are unable to pursue their dreams because they don't spell them out. You've got to spell it out to your family. You've got to tell them, look, this is important to me. I'm going to do it. If you support me, great. If you don't, I'm still going to do it. I think they need to understand that. And if they understand that they will be there with you all along the way. So I think for me, as I said in the beginning, the family always knew that this was a passion. They've been there all along. I think when you ask that thing about the kids, I think the only thing I can remember is both my kids only ask me one thing. So this Sunday, are you at home or are you running? If I'm at home, do we hope to get some breakfast today? Smita, I don't make breakfast for them every day. And mom, for my daughter, I'm just defined as that crazy woman. So for her, I just epitome everything which is crazy. I mean, who in their common sense, according to her, would get up at 4 a.m. and run? It's sleeping time, mom. Nobody gets up. So kids, I think, definitely look at us as aliens, as strangers. But I think from the husband's perspective, have had to define it to him that, look, this is important. Have had a lot of support, like Vinita said. I don't think he'd ever come and support me in a car. I'm going to use Jay for that now as an example. But does come with me for all long distance runs. And I think that's partly because, unfortunately, the family reads the things that go wrong in marathons. You see, you have one incident, a health incident that happens in a marathon, and it's the front page news. And that worries them. So I think all my long distance runs, Sanjay will be there with me. Family support system, great. I know when I come back from a long distance run, my father-in-law's made my lemongrass ginger tea. It's waiting for me at home.
Wow.
So it's there. And as I agree with all of them, I don't think we can do it without family, but I think the fault is with us if the family is not supporting us, because we are not spelling it out.
Aru?
Okay, I think I just got lucky, because those who've met my husband know why I'm saying that. Being an ex-army officer, he has been basically into fitness, but Fauji's, Muthu will agree here, they, in their army tenure, they hate running because of the way they are made to run. And they have to actually unlearn a lot. So the thing that I did is, when I got into running, he had quit the army already. I got him also into running, back into running. So that's the best thing to do. If you can get your spouse into running, then you're both doing your things together. Your vacations are to places like Goa, where you go for a run and then you stay on for another 3 days. So that's the kind of thing you can do. Besides this, he doesn't run as much as I do, thankfully. So when I'm training for my full marathons, in case I need support, he's there to support me. The other good thing about it is that he finishes his half marathon and he's there to click my pictures when I finish my run. So that's...
We all love pictures, don't we?
Yeah. The support, my daughter, my mother, everybody on my maternal side were completely against my running. Thankfully, I started running after I got married, so there was no control anyway. But over time, I have seen that they speak about it very proudly, and they were against it only because of their concern for me. It's no other reason. But they understood that I can take it, and I heard my mother telling somebody, पता है उसने फुल मैराथन भागा था, तरु कितना होता है वो फुल मैराथन? So it's that transformation. You do get the support from them. There's times when we are on WhatsApp and my daughter says, she's in Australia, so that's a 4.5 hours difference. She's 4.5 hours ahead of us. So she says, Mom, what are you doing at this time? I just woke up. So that's how it happens. But now she's understood. There's a lot of support from my in-laws. My father-in-law was an army officer, a services tennis player. Both my in-laws, my father-in-law and mother-in-law, extend a lot of support to me, and they're proud of it. Whenever I run in Hyderabad, my mother-in-law comes to see me finishing the run. So family support is important.
So all of us have been very fortunate to get family support, but I'd just like to take 2 minutes to talk about a runner I met in South Africa. She has no support from home. She's one of the top 3 ultramarathoners in Australia, and she's basically from South Africa but has gone to Australia to settle down. But she has zero support. She has to run. She can't talk about running. She can't be in the running gear. And yet, she was able to finish Comrades in 9 hours, 35 minutes. So she runs between meals when her husband is not at home. So talking about no support, I thought these stories were true in India, but it seems just the opposite. So cheers to all who support runners like us. Thank you.
Okay, one last question. I'm sending out this question to the male runners we have here in our running fraternity today present. Any male runner here who wants to get up and talk about the women runners he sees on the road? Muthu sir?
Hi, thanks. I'm always actually quite apprehensive of asking questions right from my school days. But the reason here was that I'm actually overawed by all of you. Some of you I've run with, some of you I can't run with, unfortunately, because you're on a different level. But the thing that I've learned from all of you, no, I didn't mean that. I meant the triathletes. I'm also scared of water. But one thing I admire in women who run is one thing we spoke about, support. I think there are very few who have support like you. I've been running for the last 7 years, and I have seen that support is very hard to come by. Most of the women that I have seen, in fact, there are some women who sort of come to me for help as far as run is concerned, and I found that the support from their home was extremely abysmal. Like what she described was probably one extreme, but there are a lot of us who are like that. So I feel personally that as men we can, probably at home we don't give so much value, so much bhav to our wives or our sisters, but if somebody else comes and asks us, we are sort of very outgoing and helping out. I think we should do more of that. Let somebody at home may be supporting somebody else, but we should go out and help whoever wants help of any nature, and that includes supporting during runs. A lot of time we find that women are not able to run, especially anything beyond 21. It's very difficult to train if you are not getting up early in the morning and running when it's wee hours. And I think it's not safe, however good the city may be, even Bangalore or Pune. I think we need to help out there. If women have to do anything beyond 21, I think they need to wake up early and run. And if they don't have male runners with them, it will be very difficult. That is one. And I think the other thing would be to sort of put it across to their spouses as our friends. Like if they are our friends whose wives want to run, I think we need to go and spell it out to them, make them understand how important it is for them to run, and I think we can make a change. I think that way we will be having more women, not just 5 of them. I think we'll have the whole podium full of women sitting here and telling us, and I think it's very inspirational. Thank you very much.
Okay, I have a question for all of you. Especially, there are a lot of ladies here who are not into running or any kind of endurance training right now. So, why you should run, or why you should do a triathlon, or why you should do any kind of exercise? Can of you just give your thoughts on it?
Health benefits that you've experienced. I know everybody is fit there, but any noticeable health benefits you've experienced after taking up running and sports?
Well, if we are just talking mainly about running, I feel amongst all the endurance activities that we do, maybe swimming, cycling, running is the most difficult. And it is one activity where you are able to experience a kind of the endorphin release more than the other activities, at least from my personal experience. That is why they call it the runner's high, whereas I haven't heard this terminology anywhere else where it is referred to more as a runner's high. You experience that endorphin kick. Secondly, what happens with running is you can do it anywhere. It does not require anything but a pair of shoes. You could be traveling anywhere and you could do it. It is the least expensive unless you are going to try different pair of shoes. You just need a pair of shorts or a pair of tights, t-shirt, and a pair of shoes. So that's why I feel running is one of the better ones. Secondly, I feel, what did we do when we were children? We didn't walk. Of course, we started our first steps with walking, but do you remember us as children? We only ran. So it is something that the body is used to, it is something the body loves, and it is something that the body sees as speed. And who doesn't like that, right? So I think that's one of the nicest things as a form of exercise. Has a lot of benefits. Weight loss is one, endorphin kick is the second one, and you get to do it in outdoors where you feel the wind, you see the different kinds of environment. You can do it in a hilly terrain, you do it in a flat terrain, you do it in a trail, you do it on a road, you do it wherever you want to. Whereas you can't swim without water, but you can run through water. You cannot cycle on a stony path or a mountain which does not allow you, but you can run. Yes, so running is an activity which you can do anywhere. Your body has the muscle memory since childhood. So,
anything on running is freedom? We hear that a lot. Running is freedom. That
Yes.
awesome feeling of running. Do you carry it in other things? We just wanting you to, tell things which somebody who hasn't experienced running. So this running is freedom. Running is awesome. That feeling we feel, that high. Do we carry it home to our kids, to our work?
Actually, Smita's covered practically everything, all the benefits, but then at times one gets into a kind of a meditative state when you're running, and it's a huge stress buster. I'm not saying that my job gives me stress. I'm very happy at my job and it's not at all stressful, but then still to relax, if you go out for a run, even if it's a 5-kilometer run, you come back completely relaxed. It's a change of activity. You're in open environment. I've also noticed that when I do a 10K in the morning and I go to work, I'm more energetic than when I've not run and I've gone to work. There are times when my team members, they come and ask me, you ran in the morning, aren't you tired now? I tell them, no, I'm feeling better. I'm more energetic now. So that's the kind of feeling it leaves with. This is in addition to all that Smita said.
So the question that the lady put in was, why should I tell women to exercise? My question, if woman was to ask me, why should I exercise? I would most probably rhetorically say, why should you eat food? Why do we consider exercise to be so much an alien part of our lives? If you can eat food, you can definitely find time to exercise. And I think you owe it to yourself. If you are fit, you are living. If you are unhealthy, and I'm not saying this because I'm a doctor, you just will not be able to enjoy life. So you need good health. To be healthy, you need to be fit. To be fit, you need to eat well and you need to exercise. As far as running is concerned, definitely what Smita said, it's easy, it's easier to done, but I will digress a little bit from the rest of them and say it's not always enjoyable. That first 3 kilometers is not enjoyable. In every race, when you start out the race, believe me, the first 5 kilometers you're asking yourself, why am I doing this to myself on a Sunday morning? So, I don't remember a single day when I've started out a run. Yes, I start out, I wear my shoes and I'm like, that's it. And Muthu, who gives me these very bad training plans, just thinking of them is making me sweat. So he sets out this pace and he says, you've got to run at this pace for the first 2 kilometers. And I'm looking at that pace and I'm already tired. I still have to start. So the first 3 kilometers, 4, 5, whatever it is for you, all of us is tough. But after that is when the endorphin kick sets in. After that is when that meditative stance comes in. For me, running is really a lot of introspection. After a certain stage, you are actually running, but your mind is doing a lot of work. It's kind of thinking through what you've planned through the day, something that's happened the day before. You're kind of thinking out solutions for that. So for running, for me, becomes my time. And I think everyone here, not just women, men need their time too. They need to be away from us, our spouses, their mothers, our mothers. So I think all of us need that to ourselves. So the question about why exercise is not just for women, it's for all of us. We need to do this for ourselves.
Yeah, hi. I have one question for all of you. Okay, how do you work out during your periods? Because those 3 days, I mean, some people run, some people don't run. So how do you manage your workouts?
It doesn't make a difference. Just doesn't make a difference. It's probably during our childhood, if our mothers made us not do anything, then only we get into that state. So I am one person who was brought up like that. I mean, okay, these are the 3 days, you won't be able to do too much of physical activity. But if I am able to do it, then I'm sure you, the younger generation, or maybe some of you are 2 generations away, you can also surely do that. So I just run, and I have been, I don't know, fortunate or unfortunate, that most of the events, I go there thinking, okay, abhi nahi aane wala, the date isn't now, and it's either the first day or the second day. Most of my runs, and believe me, I've got my PBs on those days. So it's just a state of mind. You just go prepared for it and you run. And once you start running, you just forget about it completely. It doesn't come to your mind at all. There have been times where I've been told that I shouldn't be doing it, even by some coaches, that you take rest for these 2 days. I don't listen to that, of course.
I agree completely with her. It's the way you're mentally tuned. If you've decided that it's going to affect you, it's going to affect you. If you've decided it doesn't make a difference, it doesn't. From a totally hygienic point of view, I think the only thing you've got to be worried about is if you've really planned a long run on that day, you've got to really use a lot of Vaseline, because you'll have a lot of issues with chafing after that. But other than that, maybe a lot of us have water retention issues, some of them, especially on the first and the second day. So you may feel that, you're really heavy on those days, but it'll start off, and after some time you'll just ease into it. If you have a training plan planned, then I would not really schedule a very long run on that day. So if you're training for a full marathon, maybe not the 32K on that, and maybe you can just stagger it. But that's more because of the chafing issues, not really otherwise.
We'll listen to Saloni, her experience.
All right. Just to give you a little perspective, I was on my second day of my period during the full Ironman. Most women, and I don't know if the men know, but for most women, second day is the worst day. I was cramping, and I just didn't have abdominal cramps. I had back cramps as well, lower back cramps. I was at the 50th kilometer of my cycling, and my cramps kicked in so bad, I was crying. I was riding my cycle and there were tears coming down my eyes because I was in so much of pain. Because in cycling, like, we have aero bars, right? So we are in an aerodynamic position. And in Sweden, it's really windy. So you're more efficient if you are in that position where you're practically parallel to the ground. I couldn't hold it for more than a few kilometers. And biking is my weakest. So I went from first 50 kilometers, I was like doing a decent 29, 30. I was touching those speeds. I dropped down to a 23 kilometers. I somehow powered through till the 80th kilometer, and I was like, maybe this is it. I need to, because even Ironman has cutoffs. You have midpoint cutoffs. You have 6 cutoffs and all to adhere to. So I was like, there's no way I can reach that cutoff if I keep going at this speed. I said, probably it's time to just, probably it's not my day today. And to the 80th kilometer, I actually stopped at an aid station. And I'm like, seriously, I've worked 2 years for this, and I'm not going to let a period get in my way. I got back on the saddle, and I was like, see, the period is not going anywhere. There's nothing I can do about it, right? So I just did what I did, and I just gave it all I had. Guys, I was cramping from that 50th kilometer till the end of my run. That's 130 kilometers plus a 42 kilometers run, all on horrible cramps. But I did it. So I think it's all here. You just, if you really want something, you'll do it, yeah.
I'd like to share my experience in terms of spouse support. All through this evening, we've spoken about a supportive husband, a supportive spouse. a supportive spouse is a more broader term that is more rightly used in this context, because in my case, I'm the runner and my wife is the supporting spouse. So I'm very proud of her that she's actually, through a lot of teething problems with my running, with the 4 a.m.s and the 3:30 a.m.s, she's finally gotten used to it. And I remember days when I've learned a lot about being a good and efficient husband in terms of getting and sneaking out of your bed and the house at 3:30 a.m. and 4 a.m. Because there was this latch which used to make a lot of noise exactly when I was exiting the house, and that got me into a lot of trouble for the first time when I did that. And the next time I was wiser and just oiled it. But then slowly she realized that it is every time I got support through the group. I'm part of the Koregaon Park group, the Viman Nagar group, and very recently the Pune Road Runners as well. And the kind of encouragement and support that I get through the group on every small minutest performance of mine and every small minutest improvements that I make on a session to session basis, I show it to her and make her a part of it. So the same can be applied in the reverse order of the gender as well. Women can make their husbands a part of the journey for the same. Probably every small improvements can be shared with their husbands, make them a part of it. The thumbs ups and the claps and all those can be shown to the husband, and that can create a great impact of, now she feels that she is a part of my team in this journey towards fitness. So I think I can proudly say that she has been a very supportive woman, and not only that, now I've managed to rope her in for one session per week into our fitness goals. Sooner, she hasn't realized that as yet, that I've already roped her in, and she's going to get addicted very soon, I feel. Thank you.
I just want to share that I got the privilege to run with 3 ladies on the dais. With them, with Nilam, it was our interval training. Yeah, and she was the fastest one among all the ladies during those training days. Then Smita, 4:30 a.m. I can't forget those good mornings at 4:30 a.m. for Sinhagad. Yeah. And Vinita, thanks a lot. You were there for those long runs, 2 long runs we did. You did one, I think 60 or 65. Yeah. So that was the most amazing moment for me to be there in front of you as of now. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, hi. My question is to Smita madam. Yeah, hi Smita madam. I'm a big fan of yours and just want to know, how do you manage to do, so many things and like cycling, running and so many activities, right from, so many years and still doing. So what exactly motivates you to do all these things?
You want an honest answer? I just want to get out of the house. Just run away from everything that the house has. But on a serious note, I didn't do all these things when the kids were young. I didn't do anything. I used to just run a fitness center when the kids went to school, and I was like an ideal mother and an ideal wife when they returned home. So this all started when the kids grew up and I felt they didn't need me. And just probably it was the right time that we moved to Pune and I went crazy. It started with the enduro. I had to do cycling. I had to start running, then the cycling. Another step, being a fitness person, I always felt that I should do more because the body was adapting, so I just felt I had the time. That's why I started late. And I really envy all these youngsters today that they are able to manage their homes and do so well. Kavita, she's running brilliantly. And Smita, the lovely kids that they have, they're going to school. I really envy them because at that time, I did not see myself doing that. I felt the kids needed me, but when I see myself today, I feel that, I should have started at that time. It wouldn't have been a struggle. I really find it hard to even keep up with what I'm doing today. But it's just there, right? I have to do it. It's hard. I have to do it.
It's a kida.
It's a kida, as this one says. Though everyone encourages me now, you have to do a full, I'm scared. I don't know, but I'm a fan of yours. Maybe I'll follow you one day. As someone said, I think it was Muthu who said, the most well-developed runner and so humble and so very true. Yes, and so modest and very true. I'm glad I got this opportunity to say that to you. Yes, and he did the Comrades barefoot. Maybe we should hear that.
We'll need a whole evening to hear Krishna's story.
Krishna speak, yes.
I have a question to Saloni.
For?
Here. Yeah. Saloni, you just mentioned that you are working in a company for 9 hours, and so I just want to understand. Anyways, you are staying at Vanauri and your office is somewhere else at the other side of the town, and you are spending almost 45 minutes to 1 hour for traveling. So that is always 11 hours out of home. So initially maintaining that work-life balance is difficult, and in addition to that, you are in a endurance sport. So the kind of physical activity you were going through that required a lot of rest. Okay. So I just want to understand how you are getting support from your subordinate or your peers at the office, because after having long run on Sunday, going to office on Monday is really challenging. So first of all, do you face any challenges at the work? If yes, how do you tackle those?
So at work, yes, there are days when I'm practically passing out on my desk, but see, the thing is, you can't do this, you can't do any sport, and especially endurance sports, if you don't have the discipline. And if you have the discipline, you will be respected for it. So even at my workplace, even though I'm tired or whatever it may be, even there are days when I leave Friday night, I reach a city on Saturday, I race on Sunday, I'm back Monday morning and I go to office. And they know that. And I don't let my work suffer. So, so the days when I need the support, they show it to me. I mean, they give it to me. So I tell my boss, I'm like, I need a 20-minute power nap. I go to a small cabin, I pass out, and I feel so refreshed after that. Having said that, yes, I stay in Vanavari and I work in Baner. And those of you who drive in Pune roads, you know how painful that is. It's a close to 3-hour commute every single day. It's not pleasant at all. But like I said before, when you have the passion for something and you know that it has to be done, you strike that balance. You strike that balance that no aspect of your life suffers, because you don't want that guilt on you, right? You don't want to miss a workout. You don't want to slack at work. You don't want to be completely absent from the family front as well. So you strike that balance. It's not easy, but it's doable. And someone once told me, and I truly believe in that we all need a little magic in our lives, right? So you have to move out of your comfort zone. You just have to, because that's where the real magic happens. And I'm living it, so yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We just have certificates we want to present to our panelists. I'd like to invite some people. Mr. Kostubradkar, can you please give the certificate to Saloni?
I'm sure you've been giving her. I'm sure you've been giving her many. I'm sure you've been always giving her.
Mr. Kostubradkar is a 15 times Ironman. He's a very well-known coach. Thank you, sir. Mr. Kishore Thankure is a Comrades runner. He's also a very avid mountaineer. To Neelam, the Mountain Connection. Thank you, sir. Mr. Hiren Patel, he's also an Ironman. We want you to present it to Vinita. Thank you, Hiren. Dr. Muthu, most well-known runner among all the ladies here because he's always pepping us up, to Taru. Thank you, Muthu sir. Mr. Prashant Tirke. He's a multiple podium finisher, doesn't need any introduction. Smita. Thank you, sir. We also have a token, small token. We have hibiscus plants, which we'll be handing over to our guests when they leave. And any other particular question? We want to wrap up the session. Yes.
Yeah, hi everybody. I would like to know what are your next goals or milestones? We have achieved a lot. We all know that.
Well, I'm attempting the up run, comrades.
Probably a full marathon. I'm scared even to say it, but yes. But the real close one, this is going to surprise you, is to play a dhol at the Ganpati Mirunuk the next year. That's my list, on my list.
Well, I have 3 actually. So I plan to do my next Ironman next year. I plan to do one every year, and hopefully, coach, I do it faster than what I have. Secondly, I have these 2 friends who will be attempting the Everest Summit next year in 2017. I plan to go with them till base camp to show some support. And most recent, which something which I'm very excited about, which is on the 8th and 9th of October, there is a lady by the name of Samantha Gash, who's an Australian, who is doing the Run India campaign. She's running from Rajasthan to Shillong. I'm joining her in Varanasi. So I have a Saturday, Sunday off, so I'm flying out. What is scaring me is I've never really done long runs on 2 consecutive days. So I'm excited about that, scared, but excited, so yeah.
I have 3 as well, and not very immediate ones. One is to learn salsa. I've already joined the classes, so that's one. The second is, again, go to Everest Base Camp. That's one thing I want to do. And if I don't get any more injuries, I would like to do a 100K.
Immediate one is to better my timing in all the subsequent races that I run. The next one being the Airedale Delhi, and Coach Muthu, Colonel Muthu, etc. is the one who's going to set the time for me. I just hope it's going to be realistic one. On a long term, I've always wanted to learn Kathak. I've tried it twice and left it. I hope one day to be able to achieve that.
All the best to you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, audience. Thank you, panelists. We have a little tea and snack session. Informally, you can chat with the panelists.